Hello everyone. Oh, there's some letter missing from my name. I'm Neil Williams. I'm the product manager, one of a handful of product managers at gov.uk, at the Government Digital Service in the Cabinet Office. And we're a relatively new bit of the civil service as a team within Cabinet Office there, bringing together like previously existing civil servants like myself. I used to be at the Department for Business, Innovation and Skills, and before that I was at DCLG. So there's people like me who've been in civil service for a while, who used to run Direct Gov too, but bringing together those people together with a bunch of new talent, new digital expertise has come in from outside and joined the civil service. A lot of those are civil servants as opposed to just contractors, people like designers and software developers, all coming together and trying to transform digital services from government. So I'm going to talk today about three things. I'm going to talk about, first of all, gov.uk and what that is and why that's important. I'm going to talk about user needs, which is fundamental to everything we're doing at the Government Digital Service, and how we build GovUK, how we manage GovUK, and continue to improve it. It's all focused on user needs. And thirdly, I'm going to say a little bit about what it means to bring all this content together from all of central government into a single website, and the challenges and opportunities that arise from that around massive scale communication with people from a single source. So first of all, gov.uk. I'm guessing by the profile of the room that most of you have probably seen gov.uk, you're probably users of gov.uk, but I can't assume that you all know that, and also that you all know kind of the story of how we got to where we are today. So gov.uk is the single website from central government now. It's a work in progress, constant work in progress. And I've got a short video that I want to show you about gov.uk. Now this is a bit of an exclusive actually, because this video was produced for a cabinet meeting where Mike Bracken, the director of GDS, gave a presentation a couple of weeks ago to Cabinet about all of the work of GDS. And this video was shown there. It's also been shown at an internal GDS event, but it hasn't been shown outside before, so you are going to be the first to see that. So if you like, you can pretend to be your favourite Cabinet Minister and imagine what it felt like for them to watch this video.
Hi, I'm Adi Adiwumi. I work at the Government Digital Service, and I'm here to tell you about GovUK. We launched gov.uk in October 2012. It replaced the two big central government websites, DirectGov and BusinessLink. The idea was to make something simpler, clearer and faster, something focused on users. Firstly, we took a careful look and worked out what services and information we actually needed to deliver. We thought, for instance, that we could probably stop spending taxpayers' money telling people how to haggle when abroad, or how to identify different kinds of waves. We eliminated thousands of pages that no one ever visited. Then we made sure that the information we were providing was as easy to find and to follow as possible. This, for example, is the page on DirectGov that tells you about bank holidays. Now, it has all the information you need, and you'd think it'd be hard to do it better. But looking at how people actually use the site, we realised that what most people were searching for was the date of the next bank holiday. So we put that right at the top of the page, big and bold. We've done the same thing to more complex tasks, like working out how much maternity pay you're entitled to. Before, on DirectGov, you'd need to read all this information. On gov.uk, you just need to answer a few simple questions, and the site calculates the answer for you. In April 2013, we finished moving all departmental sites to gov.uk, together with the sites for Number 10 and the Deputy Prime Minister's office. So instead of every government page having a different design and different navigation, every site now looks and works the same way. At the same time, we've rethought how policy is presented online. Before gov.uk, if you wanted to understand government policy on something like gangs, for instance, you'd have needed to visit all these separate pages. Now, there's a single page for each policy, and all the departments involved share the responsibility for keeping it up to date. You can even subscribe to those policy pages so that you're always kept informed of any changes. And if you're responsible for a particular policy, you can find out how often it's being looked at and how closely it's being read. Today, gov.uk is handling more web traffic than the sites it replaced at a far lower cost, and users get to the information they need quicker than they did before. Gov.uk is not perfect, and it's not finished. It's never going to be. It's designed to improve, to react to user needs. We've made thousands of changes to gov.uk, and we make small improvements almost every day. This idea, iterative, responsive change, is at the heart of everything we do. You should visit us at www.gov.uk. Hopefully, you'll see something you like. Something simpler, clearer, and faster.
There you go, that's what your nation's leaders watched a couple of Tuesdays ago, and that went down really well by all accounts. There was much banging of fists on tables, which is apparently how you show your appreciation at a cabinet meeting. I think it probably went down well mainly because they're used to having paper, and seeing a video was like a revelation. So that was a good thing. And then Mr. Bracken went on to explain that is actually just a small part of the overall programme of work that the Government Digital Service is working on, and he would probably not thank me if I didn't mention that. So I'm going to briefly mention that now. So Gov.uk is, as I say, a small part of the work. The Martha Lane Fox paper that came out in 2010, which is called Direct Gov 2010 and Beyond, Revolution Not Evolution, which is the thing that gave birth to GDS. That had four main things. We kind of boil that down to four main points, which was firstly, create GDS, a centre of digital expertise in the centre of government. Secondly, fix government publishing, and that's what GovUK is all about. Thirdly, fix transactions, digital services. And that's what this programme of work is about here. If you go to gov.uk/transformation, you can find out all about this. We are working with departments and agencies all around the country, from, say, SLC, Student Loans Company, up in Glasgow, and DVLA in wherever they are, Swansea, on reforming services. So the 25 of the 50 most commonly used digital services from government. So that's a massive programme of work. The fourth thing in that report, in Martha Lane Fox's report, was to go wholesale, to provide APIs, make our content and our services available for others to reuse, so that we can make things even more convenient for users. But gov.uk is probably the best known output from the Government Digital Service. It's a year old. This is the birthday cake that we bought for ourselves, or made for ourselves, in fact, to celebrate that a couple of weeks ago. So you've probably seen it. It's been around for a year now. And we've also won some pretty prestigious awards for government. Gov.uk won, most notably, the Design of the Year Award 2013. And that was a really massive deal. Government's not typically known for winning awards for its IT projects. It usually just wins bad press. And in fact, it's the first time a website has ever won that award. And we beat the Olympic Cauldron and the Shard to pick up that prize. That's the kind of accolade that was. So we're really, really proud of that. And that's a good news story for government. Although, impressively, the Daily Mail managed to still find a bad angle. So this is what they said about us. They said the award goes to boring.com. They felt it was ridiculous that this website that's quite plain, quite simple, has won a design award. But that's actually the point. That's why we won the design award, because form follows function and design is about making things that are useful. And that's why we won the design award. We made a website that's useful, that people can use. So, how do you do that? How do you make a website that's useful and win awards? Well, you have to focus on user needs. So I'm going to talk a little bit about user needs now. It's come up in the previous talks. It's obviously a bit of a theme. And thanks to Carl for mentioning this. This is the design principles, which are public. You can go and find these. Go and Google for GovUK or GDS design principles, and you'll find these pretty easily. And this is actually a pretty good set of principles for building any digital product. And probably any product, actually. They stand for kind of any project like that, any creative project. And Carl mentioned the fourth one there, do the hard work to make it simple. And all of these are really, really strong. But the first one, it's number one for a reason, is to start with needs. And this is the fundamental point about building effective digital services and digital products. And it's this, and it says this, I'm just going to read this out. That the organising principle needs to be needs, because people come to our sites to accomplish tasks and to fulfil needs, and not just to hang out. And we all know this from our own use of the web. We don't go to websites for a browse around. We go because there's something that we need to accomplish, there's something we need to do. And it's naive and a waste of time, really, to be putting up pages without an understanding of the user need that they're supposed to meet. You're pretty much as useful to stick a poster in your window of your own house. You need to understand what users are coming for, and then structure your content, structure your service around those needs. So at GDS, this is how we articulate those needs. You may have seen this before. This is the structure of a user story. So as a particular kind of person, I need to perform a certain task so that I can achieve a specific outcome, get a specific value. And we have a lot of users with a lot of needs. So right now we're the 43rd most visited site in the UK. So we're behind things like the banks, Amazon, and Google, Bing, Yahoo, and so on. That's about 6.5 million visitors every week. That's unique visitors every week. And you can see that traffic yourself. If you go to that URL, govuk/performance, there's all sorts of performance metrics there, including our site traffic. And the majority of those 6.5 million people are coming to do roughly the same 3,000 things. There are about 3,000 items of content in the services and information section of gov.uk. These are mainstream activities, mainstream tasks that people come to do all the time. And that's things like this. So you saw this one in the video. This is the calculate your maternity pay or benefits, and there's about 3,000 things like this. For these items, these needs, we've identified the actual individual specific needs for each thing. And we track our performance against those needs. So how well are we meeting those individual specific needs? There's also a significant number of people, far fewer, but still a large number of people, who come to this section of gov.uk. This is the departments and policy section of the homepage. Now this is the bit that I'm responsible for. I'm the product manager for the departments and policy section, so this is the bit I know most about, it's the bit I care most about. I think from the profile of the people in the room, it's probably the bit you care about most too. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. So in departments and policy, this is where information publishing from all of the departments, you saw in the video, the 24 departments, plus the DPM and Prime Minister's Office, all moved within the space of 6 months to be publishing all of their information on gov.uk, and that's in this section. And it's a work in progress, it's growing, more and more agencies are joining, agencies and NDPBs are joining. There's currently 102 organisations who make this their home. So this departments and policy section is big. It's home to 102 organisations now, and there are another 200, just under 200 on the way. So that's growing very rapidly. And the user needs at a high level for that section. The proposition for the departments and policy section of GovUK is this. It's where you go to find out how government works and see what government is doing and see how you can get involved with that. So it's a conversation, really. It's an interaction between citizens and stakeholders and the state. It's the place where you can go, see what they're up to, consultations, publications, news, and so on. Find out how to contact people and how to respond to consultations and influence what the government is thinking and doing. And that section gets, as I say, a fewer audience, fewer users, but still a significant number. There's 1.5 million visitors a week. So that's about 20% of the overall site traffic is coming to that section. So it's fairly significant. And that's growing, that traffic. As you can see in this graph, the blue line there is traffic to the departments and policy section. The red line is traffic to the mainstream services and information. And you can see it's growing. And actually, if you zoom that in so that you add another axis, the numbers on the right refer to the blue line, the numbers on the left refer to the red line. I don't mean to suggest that the traffic is overtaking. That's not the case. I'm just zooming that in so you can see the shape of those lines. The mainstream traffic is kind of constant now, as you'd expect. So since about April, that's fluctuated at around about the same number. But you can see the shape of the line for the departments and policy section is climbing in line with more and more organisations bringing their content and their users to the site. So those users, those 1.5 million people a week, are coming to see a great many more things. So there's currently 70,000 published pages in the departments and policy section, and there are about 1,000 people around government who use the publishing tool, publish information into that. And that's just how it is now, and obviously there's a lot more people on the way. There's another 200 organisations joining the platform. And between them, those people are publishing a lot of content. There's 145 new or updated things per day, including weekends in the last 30 days. So it's high volume publishing, an enormous amount of content for people to try and keep track of. So there's 1.5 million people, 70,000 published pages. That's a lot of different people coming to look at a lot of different things for a lot of different reasons every single day. So we have a lot of user needs for that section. So we don't attempt to track user needs at the same granularity as we do for the mainstream section with the things like the maternity pay calculator. The user needs that we we think about user needs for Department of Policy in terms of this kind of structure. So it's a combination of the subject matter that the user is interested in, the policy, the organisation, or the whole policy area that they might be interested in. And then there's a format that will meet that need. So they need to find the consultation so they can influence government about that policy area. So the format gives you the outcome, and the subject matter is the thing you're interested in. That's a bit abstract, so here's an example. As a user interested in government activity relating to a specific policy, a specific topic, a whole policy area, or a given organisation, I need to read relevant ministerial speeches so that I know the latest position and can see what's been issued as public record. And there's equivalent articulations of user needs for all the different formats, say consultation or press release, publication, and so on. And using that approach, we've built a publishing system which only allows people to publish those things which meet those defined user needs. So this is a screenshot from the publishing system. These are the things you can create. You can create a consultation, a speech, a policy, and so on. And these meet defined user needs, defined outcomes, and then are associated to the different concepts of policies and policy areas and organisations. And there's no such thing as a general page on gov.uk. You can't just create page after page of content which is just about you, your team, what you're doing, things which people don't really need. And applying that principle for the migration of content into gov.uk, in the first wave of transitioning 24 departments into the platform, we archived more than double the amount of content that we brought across. And that's content that wasn't meeting a defined user need, largely, and therefore content that was getting in the way of people meeting their user needs. So that's a really, really good thing. There were some casualties along the way. We find daily examples of things that we should have kept. But we deal with those as we find them, we resurrect them as we find them, and we also redirected all URLs to somewhere. So there's no dead ends, you can still get the content from the National Archives or from gov.uk. So, with all of that publishing going on, how do we make sense of that to users? How do we help people understand and find the content that meets their needs? So there's two parts to that I want to talk about, and the first part is how we collaborate across government, how gov.uk is encouraging departments and agencies to collaborate around the production of content to better meet user needs. And the second thing is about notification, how we notify people about new things that meet their needs, new or updated content that meets their needs. So on collaboration, the point of this is really that before we brought all this content together into a single domain, you'd have had to trawl around lots and lots of different URLs, lots of domains to try and find the content in the first place. By bringing it all together, all that publishing from all those organisations, it's now actually visible that there's all this content. It wasn't previously possible to give you that number of 145 things a day being published. We didn't know really how much was being published, and now you can actually find all of that in a single place. And you don't just have to go to the organisation pages to find out what they're publishing. You can see everything that is being published about a given topic, such as climate change or education, higher education, further education, and so on. So we have this page here where users can go and they can choose the thing they're interested in and see updates from the whole of government, see the whole of what's going on about that given area. And departments and agencies are collaborating on curating the information that appears on these pages. People who hadn't previously needed to work together are now working together to present a joined up version of what is going on around government, around a given policy area. And that's much more focused on user needs. So here's an example at a slightly more granular level of an individual policy. So previously, before GovUK came along, if you wanted to know what the government's policy was on Afghanistan, or any given thing, then you'd have to look at a lot of pages. So you'd definitely look at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office website for starters and see what they were saying about it. There were several pages there. There was also the UK and Afghanistan Embassy website with information on there. And of course the Ministry of Defence had lots of information, and the Department for International Development, and Number 10, and the Stabilisation Unit, and the Home Office, and the Cabinet Office, and the Deputy Prime Minister's Office. And there'd be publications everywhere, press releases everywhere, speeches everywhere. It'd be very hard to tell which of those things were up to date, and what the relative priority of those things was in relation to each other. All of those organisations just talking about the work they're doing, not the work as a whole. And now on gov.uk there's a single page where you can go and find out what we're doing in Afghanistan. And that's written in a clear way where it sets out the issue, the reason that we have a policy on this at all, and the actions, the concrete things that we're actually doing about this issue. And then under the detail tab and under the latest tab, you can then go and dig into more information about the specific actions and all the latest press releases, news, speeches, consultations, and so on that relate to that policy. And this was a really, really hard thing to do, and involved many people talking to each other and collaborating and writing this single version of the truth. And that GDS helped with that process, and we did that not just for this policy, but we did that 223 times. So there's a page here on gov.uk, the policies index, which tells you everything the coalition government is working on, and you can see all of those policies very clearly set out, and those have been written, almost all of those involved more than one organisation working together. And we've built this publishing system that is based around that principle of collaboration. So this is what that looks like. Everyone's documents. You can see, when you log into this, everyone who's using gov.uk to publish their content can see each other's content. There are options to restrict that if you need to. If there's stuff that's sensitive, you can hide it from each other. But the point of this, very deliberately, we've made this as open as possible to encourage people to write things together, to write fewer pages that put together information from several organisations instead of duplicating and having information from each organisation about the same subject. And we've produced this style guide. This is a really excellent piece of work, and I encourage you to go and look at that. Whether you're on GovUK or not, it's something that might help you in your own work. The GovUK style guide sets out very clearly, and we help departments kind of understand this and work to this, how to write in a consistent way, and make sure that the pages, when you get there, are actually meeting user needs. And this is our public project backlog, our product backlog. This is the queue of work basically that we intend to do on the platform, and this is public. You can go and look at this. If you Google for Pivotal Tracker and gov.uk, you'll find this. Pivotal Tracker is one of many available bits of software for kind of agile software development, and this is on the web, and anyone in the public can see the priorities of what we're working on, the conversations we're having within the software development team in GDS about what we're building and why we're building it and how we're building it. And departments and agencies who are on GovUK collaborate to help me prioritise what we build next. And all that funnels through me and ends up in here, basically. This is a kind of, we're all focused on using the same set of tools and all focused on talking together about how we can, what's the next most important thing we should do in order to meet users' needs even better. And we have a blog as well where we talk about that. We talk about what we've built, what we're about to build. We try out ideas, we get feedback on those ideas. And we really encourage, this is public, so it's both for users, end users, and for people who are publishing on gov.uk. And we really want that feedback. And I really encourage you to go and look at this and give us feedback. It really helps us to make a better fist of meeting user needs if we have lots of users telling us what's wrong. And so we're very open, very public, and this is a community around this blog of all the people who use gov.uk communicating with us directly so we can meet their needs better. So the last thing I want to talk about is notification and how, with all that content, we let people know when there's new things available. And again, this is all about user needs and focusing on telling people about the things that they need to get. So it's really how do we meet this need as a user interested in government activity relating to a given policy, topic, organisation. I need to get emails notifying me about new or updated content relevant to my interests so that I don't have to keep checking the website. And this is where GovDelivery comes in for us. And we currently offer that, we meet that need in these ways, we interpret that need in these ways. So someone's interest might be to receive updates from a whole organisation about all of their content, all of their news, all of their updates. And so, for example, you could sign up to get emails every time the Department for Education publishes a new thing or significantly updates a piece of content. Or, probably more usefully, you can go to the topic page of schools, which is one of the topics that DFE contributes to, but obviously lots of other organisations contribute to that too. And rather than having to sign up to alerts from all of those organisations, you can now sign up to alerts from just that one topic. Or at the more granular level of a policy, you can sign up to all the latest speeches and so forth that are associated to that policy. Or you can get even more specific than that. So on our publications index page, which looks like this, and there's another one for announcements, you can interact with the page and select filters from that left-hand side that meet your needs, that meet your interests. So you can filter by the specific type, the subtype of content. So from the publications page, you could just pick consultations or policy papers or impact assessments. And you can combine that with topics and organisations to build an email alert that meets your specific interests. And all roads lead to this form that with the selections you make on those other pages will take you to this page where it pre-fills these fields here with the things that you're interested in. And then additionally offers you the opportunity to exclude content that's not relevant to local authorities. This is the replacement for the former info for local email service. So for example, you could sign up to get all emails about all consultations from government, and lots of people do. Or you might just want all consultations from the Home Office. Or all consultations about borders and immigration from the Home Office, relevant to local authorities. And you can build any kind of permutation like that you're interested in and sign up to get those alerts. In addition, there's country-specific travel advice for about 225 different countries. And for example, that's a really important service. So during the recent typhoon in the Philippines, there was a lot of alerts about how to get people home safely and that you should avoid travel to the area and so on. So all of those possible permutations of people's interests, people's unique interests in what government is publishing, currently add up to 415 mailing lists in our GovDelivery account, with 250,000 people subscribed to them. And we send a lot of email. We send a huge amount of email from gov.uk. And we think that's doing reasonably well. We're the sixth top, the emails alerts are the sixth top referrer of traffic back to gov.uk. Most of those people are signed up for digests for a weekly or a daily kind of wrap-up, aggregated view of the content, which again speaks to the volumes of content that we're publishing, and that's how people can kind of make sense of that and track what's coming out. But how do we know if that's working? In all honesty, we don't. We haven't really done a lot of evaluation about this yet, and we're just starting to think about that now, shortly after our first birthday. So this is the use need again, and the bits in red are the bits we think we need to measure. These are the things we care about. So we care about whether people know they can get the email alerts. So those people who want to subscribe, who want to be notified when things change because it's their job to know, or because they have a vested interest in that policy area, we want to be sure that those people know that that service is available and they know how to get it. So we have some KPIs that we're developing now about making sure that people understand what those email alert links are, and they're able to follow through that process of signing up with no dropout, and so on. The other thing we care about, in fact more importantly, is whether what they get is relevant to them. And again, we have KPIs around measuring that, which we're going to start measuring now, which are things like the click-through rates, low on subscription rates, and so on. And another measure for that is actually that number of topics that we have in GovDelivery. We'd like to see that grow. The more topics we have, the more granular they are, the more specific our emails are to people. Interestingly, when we thought about our KPIs, we don't actually care very much about growing our subscriber numbers. It's not really a success measure for us. We just care about making sure that people can get email alerts that are relevant to them if they want it. Having a lot of subscribers validates the fact that there is a user need there, that there is a demand for that service. It certainly validates our investment in providing that service. But actually getting more messages, getting more eyeballs on content from government is actually not a user need at all. That's a government need. And so there was a bit of an interesting debate after Rosanna's talk about email, whether email is dead, whether it's relevant still today. And there's lots of stuff on the web, lots of articles about that. There's an enormous amount of apps appearing for managing email and reducing email, things like Maelstrom and other kind of inbox tools for various devices. And I would say that email is not dead. Email is a very powerful way to get notified. Even your social networks, they heavily rely on email to let you know when there's things happening. You sign up, you get an email, and then you get direct message emails and so on. It's still a very, very important and useful tool for notifying people. But it is very annoying and we all want less of it. So the user need really is, I want less email, I just want the really, really specific stuff that I need and nothing more. So our aim in GovUK email alerts is to provide as useful a service as we can and help the people who want the email alerts find them and get exactly the emails they need and not one email more. And our future plans around that are to begin to measure how well we're doing that and to iterate and improve our service. And we know there's a lot of room for improvement there. We want the designs of the emails to be better, to make more sense of structuring that information for people, especially if they're subscribed to multiple topics. And as we evolve GovUK and bring more agencies and NDPBs onto the platform, we're subscribing, and many, many more subscribers are being moved over into the GovDelivery system. And we want to improve the subscription sign-up so that it's easier for people to do that, to complete that from within gov.uk. And we want to get even more specific because people's interests are unique. No two people should really be subscribed to the same thing. So we want to get that as unique as we can. So in summary, focusing on user needs, collaborating across government to produce content that better meets those user needs, less content, more shared content, and notifying people about just the things that they're interested in means that we can have a better signal-to-noise ratio from central government. And that's already the case. So GovUK has definitely made that better. But there's a lot of ways in which we can do more, and that's what we're going to be focusing on in the coming year. And if you want to keep track of what we're doing, then this is the URL for the blog that I showed you earlier on. This is inside.govuk.blog.gov.uk. And this is where we talk all the time about what we're doing next, what we've just done, and come and give us feedback. We would love to hear from more people. And as a user, you don't need to go and keep checking that website because there's an email alert there you can sign up for, and they're powered by GovDelivery, of course. So go and sign up for that and stay tuned to what we're doing and give us your feedback. That'd be great. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that was of some use. And
thank you, Neil. That's most interesting. I'm sure it's going to generate quite a few questions. So can I open it up to the floor? Gentleman here.
Matt Waugh from Suffolk County Council. You talk about users being citizens. How did GovUK consider county councils, districts and boroughs as a whole as users to the previous websites which were there? Because I know from the launch ourselves it was quite a painful experience for us to suddenly lose widgets to DirectGov or lose links of content that we were relying upon. And also, how soon do you think it will be before there are no longer individual county council websites, for example, but just one central website which we all end up supplying content for?
So the first point, I mean, I certainly, for the bit of the product that I'm responsible for, the Departments and Policy section, I'm very, very aware that local authorities are a massive audience for central government information. One of our main kind of user groups for the site is both central government itself, understanding what it's doing, and local government. So in that sense, you're very important to us, and we thought a lot about making sure that we were meeting your needs, and where we're failing, then I hope that we will improve meeting your needs. As for the, I think we're maybe touching on the local DirectGov kind of service, where there's links through from our mainstream content to local authority services. That I can't really answer. I don't know very much about that side of things. I kind of know that we've definitely thought about it and that there is a continuing service there, but that's about as much as I know about that. The second part of your question about whether there should be a single platform for local government websites, something I was talking to people about in the break, actually. I mean, I think that would make sense. A lot of what those websites are doing is the same, and doing that with different contracts over and over again, having a different user experience for neighbouring areas is nuts. But as to how that happens, I don't think GDS is necessarily thinking about that in any serious way right now. I'm not sure what the role for central government would be in that, but I think it's something that is a good conversation to be having.
Okay. I'll come to you next.
Oh, hi. The journalist in the room. I was just going to ask about the sort of archiving pages versus migrating them. I get quite a lot of calls from our readers, or our users, who, particularly specialists, who have lost pages that they used to refer their clients to or whatever, and that seems to be a bit of a bugbear for some people. I'm sure that you're aware of this, but I was just wondering, is that issue being looked at more broadly around, are there things that we need to pull out of the archive and, you know, redesign, reactivate, or however to put it?
Yes. Maybe a slightly longer answer there's several things that we're thinking about there and doing there. So when we become aware of, when a user reports to us that there's a problem, that there's something missing that they can't find, we pass that on to the relevant department who's responsible for that content and encourage them to resurrect that content and put it back onto gov.uk. It's one thing we're doing. And actually we get a lot of that kind of customer feedback. And another thing we're doing on a kind of bigger scale is we're going to bring that feedback into the publishing tool so that things that have missing user needs that people are struggling with get flagged to publishers in a very visible way so they know that they need to do something to better meet the user needs there. So that's going to make a big difference. Another thing is we need to start looking at the numbers of things that we're sending to the National Archives, and where there's high numbers of people still trying to retrieve a piece of content, then we need to resurrect that content. The fourth thing is that in future this won't be a problem anymore because it's all on gov.uk now, and we're implementing features now so that we're actually going to handle archiving within gov.uk, so people can keep the content on that website in the context where it was originally, so it can still be found there forevermore. That's the plan anyway.
Hi, I'm Brett. I work for the Schools Funding Agency. We're in the process of learning how to migrate our content over at the moment. I was very interested in what you said about how you're making email alerts more granular. I wondered if you had any plans to enable agencies or departments to create their own topic list. So for instance, we might have users who wanted a news alert about something that's happening with careers, something that's happening with apprenticeships, something that's happening with data and how it's collected about learners. There's, at the moment, we've got all sorts of different news types that go out to people, but I'm not sure about that fully possible within the setup we have there now, but is that something you might be implementing in the future?
Yes. So there's two things that we've got in mind to do that that'll be relevant there, I think. So I don't know whether you've come across, there's a format on gov.uk called collections, where you can curate a list of related content. And at the moment there's no email alert from that, but very soon we plan to put one on there, so that you can curate as many lists like that as you need, that meet a defined user need, that then have an email alert that people can subscribe when there's new things added to that. That's one thing we plan to do. And then where there's like much bigger buckets of information that are similar to each other, I think we're intending that we could build finders specifically for those things. And there's several examples of those that we're looking at now. Medical alerts from MHRA are one of the things we're looking at, where sort of things about drugs or devices which have safety issues possibly, and alerting professionals about those. There's a lot of that content that's very specific, very kind of niche for a particular audience, and we think we'll build a specific tool for that has alerting on it as well. So depending on what it is, it may be that you use the kind of self-managed collection tool, or that we build something custom to be determined as you go through the user needs analysis process. And
have you got kind of time scale for that?
That's my least favourite question. So we prioritise constantly, and priorities change constantly, and that's kind of the point of being agile, is that we can drop things and pick things up as we need to. So answering that question is always really, really difficult, but it will be done by the time you need it.
We've got a question on Twitter for you, Neil.
Oh, okay. Where am I looking? Over there.
What year's oversight is there of devolved editors, and how successful has collaborative approach been so far? And that's from Don.
That is a challenge. So we have a small team of content editors who work exclusively on the departments and policy section, and they do a spot check of the kind of quality of publishing that's going on from all the people who are currently on gov.uk, and we feed back, and it's a very small sample that we managed to check because there's only a few of us, but it still helps. And we're checking that content and feeding back and helping people to correct those things and not do them again. But I think the most powerful thing we're going to do is actually exposing people to the direct feedback from users. So instead of us, GDS, sitting there in the middle saying, you shouldn't do it like that, you shouldn't do it like that, I mean, that's not very effective, really. I think the most effective thing is to put people directly show them the impact of the things they're doing by getting that user feedback into the publishing tool. And that's the thing that we're intending to do fairly soon. How collaboration is going? Well, there's a lot more to do. I think we did a really good job with the policies, the example that I showed you with Afghanistan, for example. Even those, though, I would say need an overhaul. We should probably do that again. And we haven't done the same thing with other formats. We haven't done that with news. And we haven't done that with publications. And there's still a great deal of avoidable content. I didn't say avoidable contact, but I was doing the bingo. Avoidable content. Where people are duplicating things or creating content which is just referring to content elsewhere, for example, publishing a statistics release, and then a news release saying there's a statistics release over here, and it's like, what, don't do that. There's more we can do about that, and we are actually going to kick off a project now about news specifically, reviewing how government publishes news to gov.uk and what gov.uk's role is in digital news today, which is a fairly broad topic, and we'll see where that takes us. But I think there's a lot of scope to do more collaboration around producing content that works better for users.
Lady here.
Louise Halloway from Surrey County Council. I'm really interested in what you're saying about news, because as a county council we've got a kind of conflict between doing what you're doing, providing what users want, but also helping our communications team tell users what they think they want to tell them and get messages out. I noticed that gov.uk doesn't really have campaigns on site, it's really user-led. How have you managed to achieve that internally?
I might dodge this question slightly by saying that it's not really my area, but so we do support campaigns. We have a campaign format which is that's mainly about creating a landing page, a destination for marketing campaigns. We don't think GovUK itself is actually a very useful tool to be doing the actual campaigning on, because people don't come there to get that stuff. So that, we need to fish where the fishes are. It's the classic kind of, go and use the social networks or the websites that people are already using in order to reach them. But then you do need a URL to point them out very often, and that's where our campaign pages come in. There aren't very many of them. There isn't actually a lot of campaigning going on from central government these days. But where there is, we support that in that way. We can create a page where people can direct all their traffic to, which then has links out to the relevant bits of gov.uk where you might be able to get campaign assets and so on. Does that answer the question? Kind of, not really. Good enough, thank you.
Hi, Mike Brooke here from HMRC.
Hi.
I agree that we need to reduce the amount of information we have on our site. It's being moved across and there'll be much less there. I see that you're responding very much to what people search for, and sometimes it looks a bit like it's what they want rather than what they need. So how do you stop the swimming pool growing into an ocean again?
So you seem to be arguing for both for putting more content on and less content on.
Well, it feels as though you're responding to what users ask for,
yeah,
which means that the content will expand. So how do you stop it just getting too big again once you've cut it down?
I see. So I guess part of the answer is that archiving, which I talked about a minute ago. So we are going to make it possible to archive content that is no longer meeting a user need or has passed out of being true. It's no longer the current government policy or activity. Then there'll be a way to get rid of that stuff. I think we need to do a lot of work around content review. Currently, there's none of that in there. We haven't got to that yet. We certainly need to help people with data see which things are not being looked at. Things which were maybe once meeting a user need that aren't now, or turns out to be an imagined user need that isn't real. Then highlight to people using the metrics that we've got which things aren't being looked at, and then encourage archival based on that. However, it is of course possible that there are things which have very low traffic which are meeting important user needs, it's departments and agencies and public bodies' decision about whether that's the case or not. We don't own that decision about user needs for the content that's in departments and policy section. That's something that departments look after. We can certainly help. We can build tools that help to manage content more effectively.
Okay, we might have time for one more question. Perhaps the lady over there. Thank you.
Jess from Land Registry. Just what you were saying about campaign pages. What's your policy on linking to external websites then? If you're saying what we should be doing is partnering obviously with on a number of other organisations. Is there a policy about not providing those links externally, or do you do that? Are you fine with that? Because I just know from Direct Gov, we'd much prefer to link to other bits of Direct Gov than to external sites.
We have a published policy on linking, which you can get by going to the blog, go to Inside GovUK, there, wherever it is, there. And off the side of it, there's a page which gives you that answer, and I actually don't know, I can't remember. I think we encourage linking out to like services. I mean, it's definitely a principle that if something is provided elsewhere, then we shouldn't be doing it. We should be linking to it instead. So I believe that's the case, but don't quote me on it. Go and check the page.
Okay, I think, it's your presentation we'll be holding up here.
Yeah,
so,
that's fine.
A few questions for you.
Hi, Gavin from Health and Safety Executive.
Hello.
So it strikes me you're getting an awful lot of data on user activity, which must be helping to dictate those user needs. How much information do you have on who those customers are, and are you going to use that to improve the site overall?
Yeah, not enough actually at the moment. We have been running a survey for a while, but that's on the site as a whole. What I'd like to do, what we haven't really done, is profile who the users are for Departments and Policy section, other than looking at the existing insights that were around before we started. So right at the beginning of building GovUK, I gathered from the 24 ministerial departments all of that insight that they had, all of that survey data that they had. And so we have a sense of who they are, but it's not something we've refreshed since GovUK, and something that I definitely want to do. And we're going to do that with news initially. So we're going to focus on who are the users for government press releases, what proportion of those are journalists versus members of the public versus whatever, and why do they come, what do they want. We haven't done that yet. We are going to do that, and we'll share that when we've done it.
Sorry, one other question. Do you collect any personal data from people when they sign up for the alliance at all? Or
No.
is it just purely down to ID?
It's just email address and the optional password. We collect nothing else.